Looks like I am live. Welcome to Detective Diaries. I am your host, Greg Lawson. And Detective Diaries is something that I thought of. I'd been interviewed by so many interesting and strange people the last few years on paranormal topics. I thought, you know what? I'm going to start picking my own strange and interesting people, and I'm going to do it here on Detective Diaries. So, the last couple of weeks, had Kenna Hunter on from RIP Files. I had, let's see, Shay Steingas, doctor of marine biology out of Oregon. And she was on. We talked about sea monsters and stuff like that. And tonight, I'm going to have the head of Sage Paracon, MJ Dickson, to join us tonight. And we're going to talk about Ghosts of Britain, hauntings, and some of her favorite places. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to MJ Dickson. Hi, MJ.
Hi, everyone. How you
Hey,
doing?
thanks so much for doing this. I know, uh, especially over here in the United States, since the whole COVID thing, all the paranormal stuff has been canceled, everything. And
Every
and it's been really difficult to kind of reach out because I've been used to my para family, right?
yeah,
So I know it's the same way with you over there.
yeah, it's been really tough actually because I'm so used to being on investigations or on a paranormal road trip or out researching and checking out locations and that sort of thing. And it's funny because I'm actually quite an introverted person, so I don't usually leave the house a lot.
Right.
Lockdown first started, I was like, well, it's sad when you're in isolation and it made zero change to your life. Like you're still stuck researching behind books and that sort of thing.
Right.
But it came down to all my events being cancelled or postponed to later dates. And then I was like, now what do I do? I'm
Right.
like, okay, now what? So
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
gets a little
been tough.
weird. I know one thing that more and more people are doing is they're drinking. So without further ado, what are you drinking tonight? What time is it over there right now?
It's midnight.
It's midnight. Okay.
Yes, I got a I got a nice cup of tea. Well,
Nice.
some people think it's tea. Actually, it's a really nice bourbon.
Nice.
Woodford Reserve. So I learned this nice little trick in isolation of taking the tea bag thing and just like sticking it on the inside. So whatever you're drinking, it kind of like a cup of tea. So Zoom meetings have been great.
It's just a cup of tea. Hey, where are you right now? I mean, not like in your room. I'm saying where are you in the world?
I'm in a little town called Henley in Arden, and that's in Warwickshire. And that's pretty much smack bang in the middle of England.
So is that where you took Lynn and I, or are you guys completely away from the where like where, where
Yep.
your place was before?
Yeah, no, same place.
Okay,
Exactly
that's what I
same
was.
place, town. Mhm.
No, I loved it there. You that was the first time Lynn had ever eaten Indian food and really enjoyed it. So,
Oh my gosh,
and
that is such a great Indian restaurant, though.
right. Yeah. And you also took us out for fish and chips.
I did indeed. Hey, I have no hair.
I know. I
It's
know.
a
And
proper.
that's something that I'm glad that you share online quite a bit,
Mhm.
your cancer diagnosis and your treatment and everything. Um, Everybody was really worried about you for a while.
I know. I was too. It was touch and go for quite some time. Really difficult couple of years going through surgeries for stage 3 ovarian cancer, going through chemo. I think the one of the hardest things, again, which maybe kind of helped with this isolation, was the fact that for 2 years during chemotherapy and everything, I couldn't see anyone. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do
Right.
investigations or anything. So it was a tough battle, but got it. I'm here.
I
And I
I
go
think
back.
this
What's that?
was like right after your last chemo, right?
That was That was 2 weeks. 2 weeks after my very last chemo. I just
Yeah.
started getting like tennis ball fuzz back.
Yeah, I got a lot of good pictures of you while
Great.
we were over there,
I
especially on the bus when we were riding around in downtown
Mhm.
London on top of the bus. I got some really good pictures, but we had
Oh,
such
great.
a great time. Um, MJ and I met at the All Ireland Paracon, right?
Yeah, I actually went over there. I'd heard about the All Island Paracon, didn't know anybody. I just heard about it online, and it was actually my 30th birthday. And my husband said to me, "So, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Paranormal convention, obviously. What else am I going to do?" And so we kind of turned up there, not really knowing anyone. I think the only person I knew was Dave Schrader, and I'd spoken to Kathy Denver, the organizer, online. And so we turned up there and just kind of met the whole group. It was a great little
It
paracon.
was
Really enjoyed.
fun, right?
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
It was a good time. I had a really fun time in my talk. I think I had rubber aliens or something. I was throwing
Yeah,
around for questions or whatever.
Duncan, my husband, loved that. It was like the highlight. He loved your talk so much
Oh,
that when
really?
I started, yeah, when you had him from the get go, I mean, that was like the only lecture I could get him to sit still the entire lecture. And he came to me afterwards and he was like, "If you ever do a convention, you need to get that guy." So it was really
And you
cool.
did. You did a
I
convention,
did.
and I was there.
Yeah.
This was after you kicked
Yep.
cancer's
Big-
butt, and you started Sage Paracon.
I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I I was just finishing my chemo, and when I started the chemotherapy, I was such a go-getter and so used to being so busy that lying in a hospital bed for 5 days at a time receiving chemo and really intensive treatment, I was kind of going out of my mind. And I thought, do you know what? If I'm going to go out, I'm going out with a bang. I'm going to get all my favorite people and just a bunch of weirdos together. I'm going to put a convention together. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I'd attended conventions around the world, but never hosted anything of that
Right.
size or, that amount of planning while going through chemo. Great idea. Um, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. I was lying in my hospital bed, doing 16-hour work days, putting the convention together, and it was a great little weekend. It wasn't very big, but it was what I could handle at the time. And then everybody came to me and they're like, "This is so amazing. When's next year?" And I was like, "What? No."
Yeah. Well, you're now on number five. Five is
I
coming up in
am
November. Keeping our fingers crossed that this COVID thing is going to at
disappear.
least go back to semi-normal, and travel will go back to semi-normal. We'll
Yeah,
see how that goes.
I'm so excited for number 5. I never ever thought that we would be doing Sage Paracon 5. And I can't thank everybody who's attended the event and supported me through this whole journey. I can't thank you enough for it. This
You've
year,
had great speakers. I mean, you've had Zaffis, you've had Richard Esteve.
yeah,
Um,
you know what? That's the big thing for me. I get people requesting certain speakers and that all the time. But what they don't understand as a Paracon organizer, not only do your guests need to have a really nice lineup to look forward to, but your lineup of speakers need to gel. If your speakers don't gel as a group of speakers, people pick it up when they're at the event. I mean,
oh
there's
yeah,
a lot he said, she said in the paranormal field. They can get quite catty. And so you've got to be really, really careful of who you're mixing as your group of speakers. And I've had, yeah, Robert Mertz, Jeff Belanger, Brian J. Cano. I've had Katrina Weidman, Barry Guy, Chris Fleming. Oh my goodness, I've had Cal Cooper. So many amazing, amazing speakers from all
right.
around the world. And every year I ask my attendees, which lecture captivated you the most? Who do you want to see back here? And so Sage Paracon 5 is all the fan favorites. It's my top 10 favorite speakers from the first 4 years. And everybody knows each other really well as speakers. All the attendees that come every year already know you guys, and they are so excited to have everybody back. And it has become this like really nice sort of a family feel. It's almost like a reunion every year
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. That's what I would describe it as, kind of a reunion. And that's really cool. But you've been staying pretty busy. So I know that, um, you know, you do, you do some psychic stuff. You do, investigations. You obviously run a Paracon and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
you've been working on with some TV shows also, right?
So I started as a production coordinator, well, production location manager for Paranormal Lockdown when Nick Groff and Katrina Weidman came over to the UK and they did Paranormal Lockdown UK. I just helped them organize the locations for the season. And it kind of escalated from there. I was then asked to do a show called Paranormal Captured, which aired here in the UK last year, and that was on Sky Pick TV. And I fell in love with it. That was an on-screen role as one of the lead investigators for a couple of the episodes, as well as being one of the people sitting in the infamous chair giving our opinion on several different clips and videos and things. And from there, I was asked to do Most Terrifying Places, which aired in the States on Travel Channel in October last year. I was the production coordinator for that. So I put all of the UK shoots together. And I love it. I love television. It's kind of clicked with me. I'm an organizer, so putting things together is kind of my thing.
Right. Yeah. So Melly, said that Sage Paracon literally changed my life.
Oh my god, don't make me cry on camera.
Yeah. No, and it,
Like that.
and, Lynn feels the same way.
Oh,
She, you introduced us to a different world, you know, and I'm a world that we kind of knew existed, but you made it real for us. And when you travel from the United States, it's so funny. You talk to, people from the US,
mhm,
they'll always say, yeah, oh, you went to Ireland. I always wanted to go to Ireland. Well,
mhm,
what the hell is stopping you? I've always wanted to go to England. What's stopping you? It's a $800 plane
yep,
ticket.
mhm,
You can find reasonable hotels to stay in. The food
yeah,
is good.
mhm,
What's stopping you? And so when you brought us over, it took us out of that tourist thing more into, we loved staying with you guys. When we stayed with you and went over to across the street to the um
White
the the what?
the White Swan.
The White Swan. I was going to say the Black Swan. We have the Black Swan down in San Antonio. The White Swan. That
Mhm,
was a great night, just sitting there doing normal stuff with normal people, not a tourist thing. At a
yeah,
great haunted location.
it
So,
is actually. I filmed the first episode of Paranormal Captured at the White Swan, and it was a really good episode. But it was so funny because we've lived in this town for about 10 years now, and it is a tiny town. We call it the Henley Mile because the main street is literally a mile long, but there are more pubs than anything else. And so if you can do the Henley Mile, you're doing pretty good. Have a drink in each bar. You won't finish it.
you get your
But
exercise and fun.
yeah, exactly. But the White Swan Hotel, the first time I ever walked into it, and bear in mind, 10 years ago, I wasn't planning on doing paranormal television. And I was having a conversation with my husband over a beer, and I said, do you know what? One day, one day, if I ever film a paranormal TV show and I'm on screen, my first episode will be here. And it just so happened to play out that it was. And I was like, wow, this is really weird. It's a great place.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, so on top of that, let's talk a little bit. Oh, wait. So Lynn chimed in
He,
again. Uh, yeah. Duncan, for those of you who don't know Duncan doesn't wait for traffic. He just
No,
negotiates across no matter how fast the cars are going back and forth. He just goes. It's very impressive, but very stressful.
because you'll get hit by a bus. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
that was something else. So let's get into a little bit. Well, actually, I got a picture. Um, what was that from?
That was filming Most Terrifying Places. While being the production coordinator for the show, I actually featured in one of the episodes. That was actually taken during the filming at Warwick Castle, and I have to give credit where credit's due. The wonderful Corin West Photography took this photo, and I love it. She was the stills photographer for the show. We were filming in Warwick Castle purely because of a photograph that I had taken there in 2016. I had a really, really strange experience in the Kenilworth bedroom. The Kenilworth bedroom of Warwick Castle is where Aleister Crowley used to hold seances with Anne, the fourth Countess of Warwick. And I had gone in there. It was just before I did my second Sage Paracon. We hosted it at Warwick Castle. And I was walking through all the bedrooms, kind of checking out the size of the place, each room for the paranormal investigation, because we all got locked down in that beautiful castle. And this was during the day. I'd walked around each room and I saw this plaque at the end of the bed that said, Warwick Castle, the Kenilworth bedroom is believed to be the most haunted room in the castle. And so I kind of leaned down and, sorry, and I snapped a photograph of this plaque at the end of the bed. And I didn't notice anything at the time, but I felt somebody walk up behind me, and it was a really strong male presence. So I kind of turned around, looked around the room. There was nobody else there. I looked down the corridor, no one else in sight, and I kind of shrugged it off and I left. And when I got home, I was going through the photographs showing a friend of mine, and she was like, "Well, who's that?" And when I actually looked at the photo, in the reflection of the plaque is a full bodied apparition stood in the window behind me. It was creepy
That's
as
the
hell.
picture I didn't get to upload onto this to show everybody. And that's like the coolest one you sent me. I suck. And I'm afraid to like negotiate out of this StreamYard to try to get it because I'm afraid that StreamYard will crash.
Hell yeah.
So,
We'll have to
so yeah,
comment something. Yeah, but it was really, really creepy because it was this full bodied apparition in the window behind me. And I contacted the castle straight away. I phoned them and said to them, look, it's dated, timestamped on my phone from today, 2:35 this afternoon. I was walking in the Kenilworth bedroom and I took a couple photographs. Please, can you tell me if anybody walks into that room behind me? And they looked back on the CCTV cameras, checked everything out. They said, you look really uncomfortable, but there was no one there. And I sent them the photo, and it actually made international news. It was front page of several newspapers
I
as the
remember that.
ghost of Warwick Castle. Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I'll post that with this on Facebook. That's one of the coolest photos I've seen in a
Really
long
cool.
time. I I have a lot of people. So people think because of my title or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I work law enforcement and the paranormal detective, that I'm some sort of debunker. And I'm not a debunker, but if it's not paranormal, it's not paranormal.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to prove it's not. I'm just trying to figure out what's causing whatever it is. And every year we go to all these, places, and I have people come up and show me photos on their phone and go, "What's this? What's this?" Well, I wasn't there. I didn't experience it. I don't know what it is. But every once in a while, maybe twice a year, somebody will come up and show me a photo, and it's like,
Damn.
wow, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
part of that is knowing a person, I think, as far
Mm-hmm.
as credibility wise, because
Oh,
you don't know how many people have tried to, hoax you in some sort of way or just be a part of something. Oh yeah, I saw it too.
mm-hmm.
it's
That, you know,
hard. So when you have somebody that has no other reason other than just look at what I got, it's
yeah.
amazing. That photo is really cool.
I think in 12 years, I've captured 3 photographs that blew my mind, where there's a figure or a full face, and literally you can see the mustache, you can see the eyebrows, you can see the detail. Um, and I've been taking so many photographs for so many years, trying, and all the times that I have captured something was absolutely by chance. Um, which is what blows my mind even more. I mean, that was taken on an iPhone. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't, planned in any way that, look, I'm
Right.
investigating. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm looking for. I was just kind of like, oh, it's a cool plaque at the end of the bed, you know?
Right.
And then to have that, see it in the photograph, I was blown away.
So last time I was at Warwick Castle, I was in charge of the bear pit, right?
Yes, you were.
And what was really cool is, God, I'm so ashamed. I forget what her name is. She's from Ireland. She's an anthropologist. She worked for the mining company over there. Do you remember her?
Oh my goodness. Um,
Yeah, we actually kept in touch for a little while and then kind of separated. But anyway, she had one of the most interesting jobs. Her job for the mining industry in Ireland was to go and identify all these private mines because in different places in Ireland, I think in Wales, actually, I think she was in Britain.
Whale.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
not Ireland.
might have been Katie Spiller.
Okay.
Might have been
And
Katie.
yeah, so
Yeah.
she's full blown accredited anthropologist, and she's going around digging up these old mines and finding these old mines and cataloging them.
Mm-hmm.
And in some of the old mines, she actually found children where the mine had caved in and there were children in there, little skeletons.
Oh
Because I mean,
wow.
that's what they used. They back then, these mines. It was in Wales, right?
Yes.
Okay, so is it very flat there in some areas?
No.
No, it's really hilly.
Yeah.
Okay, and so people would just go in there like on their own property and just dig a hole, dig down, and you could find coal. And so they dig these private coal mines, and the company coal mines would employ children and send
That's
them in there because they were smaller, and I guess they could get into nooks and crannies, and that really disturbed her, and that was one of the reasons that she chose to come to Sage Paracon. Was she had had these experiences, and it really it kind of um no, it upset her quite a bit, I think.
oh, I can imagine. It's funny. You hear so many stories at Sage Paracon of people's experiences that are so traumatic, and they've got nowhere else to turn, or things that have really, scared them. Um, we've had so many people come up and tell us their paranormal stories at the convention, and then come up to me and go, well, this is a place where I feel so safe to share it. And I must say, in 4 years of conventions, I've heard some insane stories. So
Well, yeah,
yeah.
and I think everybody that comes and has some sort of experience prior to that
Hmm.
realizes that there's going to be very little judgment
Exactly.
on what their experience is because everybody seems to have a different experience, and that's one of those um, things. It's like, all right, is it all aliens and they're just messing with it? Is it all like demons? Hashtag it's a demon. Um,
Love
yeah,
it.
everything's demons. Everything's,
Oh yeah. But you can
and
only have a
so
little in a wine box.
it's it's a safe place to go and talk about
Absolutely.
your experiences.
Yeah, one of the main reasons that I've carried on with Sage Paracon is because instantly it created this network of people who all had something in common, that it was a place that they could share. It was a place that they weren't judged. If they wanted to talk about fairies, they could talk about fairies. If it was aliens, fine. If it was ghosts, hey. cool. I've had experiences too. And it just became a real tribe. And a lot of
Right.
people on Facebook where I say the Sage Tribe. And I never started that. People that started coming to the events and things, they were like, this is such a tribe. It's really cool. We're all connected. We've all got something in common. We all share the same interests. And it just kind of grew out of proportion from there. I
Right.
never in my life expected it to turn out the way it has. I mean, we've got Sage Tribe people literally all around the world.
Right. And Neil's story here, he's apparently needing to hit the bed, but yeah, Neil is a great guy, and I'm going to be having him on here. I hope, we'll see. I know he's busy, but he's going to try to make some time, and we're going to do this maybe on a Saturday or something.
And I shall tune in for that.
So the bear, is that what it's called? The bear pit, right?
The bear pit. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually because Castle
So
had several bears on the property, and they would actually keep them in a pit. And
right.
it was with sort of bear fighting and that sort of thing. It was horrible when you think about it, but
Right.
yes,
And
what they did back in the day for entertainment.
it's
So, yeah.
it was really disturbing. And the anthropologist lady, what did you say her name? You think her name might be
Katie?
Katie? So when it was her turn with a group to come into the bear pit area, I kind of, because it's such a small area, for those of you that haven't been there, it's about the size of a car garage, maybe.
I literally stuck you in a pit.
Right. And it's a pit. Yeah, it's a pit. And there's an area above it. You can walk around, look down in the pit. Well, her thinking, knowing mining and stuff like that, she's looking at it and she's like, this is just where they kept the bears.
Yeah.
The actual area was outside of there. And so
Yeah.
you could, and then you start looking at everything differently. It's really fun when you think you know what something is, and then somebody who has more experience, more training, more teaching, comes in and goes, look at it this way. And then you go, wow, completely different.
I've had people, and I always tell people this, look, if you're interested in investigating the paranormal and that, we've all got to start somewhere, right? And I've had people that have come on my events, paranormal investigations, that have been on maybe one or never been on an investigation before. Absolute virgins, great, love those. And they've asked me a question during the investigation, and it's absolutely stumped me, where I've just gone, in all my years of investigating, I have never thought of it that way. So it just goes to show, it's perspective. It doesn't matter if you have 6 months of experience or 16 years of experience. We're all asking the same sort of questions and things. And you'll every now and again find someone that just blows your mind with the simplest thing.
Right. Kat from Australia, she said that she recalls a story about a bear in the guard tower of London too. They had bears there too, right?
Absolutely. So bear fighting was like a pastime, it was a entertainment for them back in the day. And also Anne, the fourth Countess of Warwick, who lived at Warwick Castle, she was quite an eccentric one. She had all sorts of animals. She had peacocks running around everywhere, which is still there, but she literally tried to create her own zoo on the property. So a lot of places, it wasn't just bears. Tower of London, I believe, had elephants as well that they used for all sorts. So,
oh wow, yeah, that's one of those places. If you're an American tourist and you go to London and you don't go to the Tower of London, I don't know what's wrong with you. That's one of my favorite places. It's got everything. It's got the crown jewels there. It's got the princes in the tower. Those of you who don't know what that is, it's just some amazing stuff. And if you follow that sort of history, and that's the main thing about the paranormal, right? It's all about history.
Oh, absolutely.
Things happen and you go, okay, well, what's that all about? And if you track it back to the prince is two prince in the tower, the young boys murdered and then sealed in the tower.
Mhm.
That means every monarch afterwards was illegitimate, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So
Because
it makes you, and that's why they don't want to do I guess they didn't do DNA on them, right? When they actually found the bones.
don't think they did. I know that it was um, there was a lot of rumors and things flying around to do with King Richard and all of that when it came out, but I don't think they did any DNA or anything on it.
Right. They don't want to do that because it wouldn't match the DNA of the monarchs today. It's all, I think the DNA of the monarchs today is German. I'm not sure, but I think it is. So
Not getting into it. I'm
I'll
South
shut up with
African.
the political stuff. So, hey, um, tell us about the oubliette in Warwick.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so oh my gosh, in the dungeon itself, there is an oubliette where, I mean, it's a tiny, tiny sort of crawl space, and they would throw people down there. So if being in the dungeon wasn't bad enough, being chucked down in this tiny little crawl space was just horrendous. And at one point during the investigation, I get chills. There were four ladies. Was myself, I think Lynn was with us, Susan Cummins, and there was somebody else with us, and we had done some EVP by the oubliettes, and we captured a class A EVP of a really gruffly male voice saying "suffer." It literally sent chills down our spines. It was the most horrendous, creepy experience being four females in a pitch black, dingy old dungeon
Right.
surrounding Juliet and having that happen. It was crazy. There was
Yeah.
actually there's a town not too far from me where there's a stone circle that's older than Stonehenge. But the little town where it's situated, there was a guy who accused his neighbor of being a witch. And as you did back then, to kill a witch, you would stab her through the neck with a pitchfork. 3 times. And so he killed her and accused 16 other women in the town of being witches. And he actually was put into the Warwick Castle jail, and he starved to death. He starved himself to death in that jail. I only found that out afterwards. So
Well, all I know is it was really creepy. Just and uh, my height and everything going into that. I just can't even imagine getting shoved into that. But let me say this real quick. We're 30 minutes into this, 33 minutes into this. Those of you who have tuned in to Detective Diaries, I really appreciate it. I'm talking with MJ Dickson from the UK, and we're talking about hauntings and cool places and that sort of stuff, ghosts. If you're watching, it would be great if you would like and share this onto your Facebook feed. That would be super cool. And if you have any questions, get on the comments and you can ask MJ questions like, "Hey, if I flew over there, could I pay you some money and you could be my private tour guide and take me around to places like, I don't know, Shakespeare's house or maybe the oldest tea shop in the world, that kind of stuff."
yeah,
So
that's
if you have any
kind of
questions,
what I actually have, in conjunction with Sage Paracon this year, I'm actually doing a UK tour for 20 people that have decided that they want to explore the UK a little bit more. So they're coming over, spending 4 days at Coombe Abbey, where we're hosting the event this year. And then from there, I'm going to take the group to do a private investigation of Warwick Castle. So just the 20 of us doing the investigation of Warwick Castle. We're going to go down into Drakelow Tunnels, which was built in the 1940s, and that is an old nuclear bunker. So we're going to go down into the tunnel system. It's 285,000 square feet of pitch black tunnels. It's incredible, and also
wow.
one of the haunted places I've ever been in. So we will be doing that. We're going to sightsee London, go to Stonehenge, go to some really cool pubs and restaurants. And the older, the better, obviously. So going to see some really cool stone circles and probably end it in London with a few drinks at a very witchy bar called the Cauldron, where you get to make all your own spells, and those will be your cocktails for the night.
Really?
So yeah, it's really, really cool, actually.
So you and I and Lynn and Duncan and quite a few other people. I see Carrie on there, Connie's on there.
Hmm.
Hey, June is on there. Hey, June. And you took us, well, sort of. You took us. You arranged for us to go on the Jack the Ripper tour.
Oh, absolutely. Something that you cannot go to London without experiencing. And this is a really good friend of mine, Russell Edwards. He has the Jack the Ripper tour in Whitechapel. And we were lucky enough that Russell himself took us for the tour. He's written a really cool book about his whole journey with Jack the Ripper, and, how he has named Jack the Ripper using DNA. It's a very, very interesting story. The book is called Naming Jack the Ripper, and I highly recommend it. But if anyone who's going to be joining us in November, if you're coming on that tour, I am getting Russell to take us out and do that whole walk through. And he's actually got some really exciting news coming out about that, but not my place to spill the secrets.
On his tour, I got some fantastic photographs, but more importantly, he needs to incorporate one of those Indian restaurants on his tour, like
I
halfway through,
know.
stop and eat. Oh my God, that would be great. That would be great.
Down Brick Lane.
It,
Brick
it is,
Lane.
it is, it is fascinating to go where these women were and to go to the pub before they
Yeah,
got murdered. They were sitting there
in bells.
drinking,
Mhm.
walked out of that pub off into history, you know?
You know,
And
the
it's just
first time
amazing doing that.
yeah, the first time I ever did Russell's tour, believe it or not, the only thing I knew about Jack the Ripper was they called him Jack the Ripper and a bunch of women were murdered brutally. That was literally the extent of what I knew about him. And I went on Russell's tour, and I started picking things up psychically. And it was so bizarre because I kept getting these flashes of what London used to look like. And I said to Russell, I was like, hey, this is a really cool psychic test. Like, I'm testing myself here. You don't have to do it. I want to do it. But can I tell you what I'm picking up? Because I know that I know nothing about this. I've never been here at all. But can I tell you everything that I'm picking up? And then just tell me if I'm right. Let me tell you Jack the Ripper's story from my psychic impressions.
Well, and
And
here's
some
the
of the things,
deal to legitimize what you're saying. Here's the deal for those of you who don't know this. MJ's actually from South Africa.
yes,
So
I've never been.
it's not like you grew up
Yeah.
in Britain and, were just inculcated with Jack the Ripper stuff.
Oh yeah, I knew nothing about it at
Yeah.
all. I haven't because Russell was so surprised. He was like, "Oh, so you've watched the movie In Hell?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, Johnny Depp's movie In Hell." And I'd never seen anything or read anything about it. But throughout the entire evening, I had picked up things that only Russell knew. And when he found out where Aaron Kosminski, who he thinks is Jack the Ripper, when he found out where Aaron Kosminski lived, his exact address in London, and how he was able to get from one murder scene to his house or
Right.
wherever so quickly, um, he came up to me and he said to me, "Listen, I know the exact address. There is no way that you know this. So can you kind of psychically navigate and see what you pick up and just kind of follow your spidey senses? Let's see if you can get anywhere near where his house is, well, was." And I kind of put my head down and started just following my gut instincts and wherever I was being drawn to. And about 15 minutes later, I stopped and I went, right here. And it blew Russell away. It was the exact address. I was stood on the ground of where Aaron Kosminski's house was. And not only did it blow Russell away, it blew my mind. It freaked me out completely.
And those of you who don't know the book, what do you remember? What's it called again?
Called Naming Jack the Ripper.
Naming
by
Jack the
Russell.
Ripper. In a real quick thing, Russell ended up purchasing a shawl from an auction house that was actually the property of one of the victims of Jack the Ripper.
Catherine Eddowes.
Yeah, Catherine.
Catherine Eddowes. Yeah, he
Yeah.
said that he actually matched the DNA on the shawl to a great granddaughter of Catherine Eddowes, and it was 100% match. So they know it was a shawl. It was her blood on the shawl. But then they'd also found semen on the shawl, which they found a relative of Aaron Kosminski, and they got a 100% DNA match to Aaron Kosminski as well. Hey, there it is.
I guess I could have looked over there on my bookshelf there. But yeah, it's a fascinating read, and Russell is a great host. Love the man. But hey, let's talk about we can talk about the past all night long. Let's talk about the future for a little bit. Boom.
Coombe Abbey.
That place looks really nice.
Actually, a couple interesting facts. So Coombe Abbey was the childhood home of what was then Princess Elizabeth, and the Guy Fawkes gunpowder plots surrounded Coombe Abbey as well, because they were going to kidnap her and obviously assassinate her father and put her on the throne. And that's kind of where it all went down. That Coombe Abbey was her childhood home. And I believe it's built in something like 1058 or something like that. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I know this. It's 676 years older than the United States of America.
Well, there you
throwing that out there.
Wow. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I've never been there. You took me to Wroxall Abbey.
Abbey, yes.
Yeah.
Wroxall Abbey was the location for the very first Sage Paracon, and it's a great Gothic old abbey that's now been turned into this beautiful hotel, and it was a fantastic venue. We did the second year at Warwick Castle because we kind of thought, that's going to be Warwick Castle. It's going to be amazing. Not the best venue ever hosted an event at.
Yeah.
But I moved it to Coombe Abbey, and you know what? The place is jaw-dropping. Every time I walk in there, it kind of takes your breath away a bit, standing in the reception of the hotel. It is absolutely exquisite.
Right.
So I'm excited to go back.
Well, at Wroxall Abbey, it was great. You put us up in a really nice room, and I felt bad for a couple of other people. But I was gonna take it. I think I did. I think Belanger got like a suite or something, right? It was incredible.
Yes.
And the coolest part about it for me was walking out my front door into a cemetery.
Oh yeah.
And then walking across the Abbey to where, you had the event staged, and it was just absolutely incredible. And of course the restaurant was fantastic. And we had such a good time there.
I think, a lot of people look at the price of Sage Paracon. This is a big thing that I get all the time. They'll look at the ticket price of Sage Paracon, and if you are used to going to conventions where it's like $200 for the weekend, and you get to see a few lectures, and sometimes they throw in a dinner or something like that, I kind of go all out. I love hosting things. Everything's jam-packed. So for instance, if you take a platinum ticket, which Sage Paracon at Coombe Abbey in November is a 4-day event. So it's the Thursday night we do a paranormal investigation of Coombe Abbey, which is so active. It's a very, very, very haunted hotel. Absolutely love the place. But then the Friday night we do a 3-course meal, and it has entertainment with that. We have a show going on as we're having our meal. And then the Saturday, we have lectures all day. Saturday night, we have a legendary VIP party. Every year is a different theme. And this year, I'm quite excited. It's a ghostly Great Gatsby gala. So, dead flapper girls and prohibition. And I'm excited. It's going to be cool. And then really bad karaoke thrown in on top of that. It's kind of a Sage Paracon standard thing now. Sunday all day lectures. Sunday night's pretty interesting because we all play Cards Against Humanity, have a few drinks, and kind of wind down after the long weekend. It is also a very boozy weekend. I will pre-warn people. The bar is always fully stocked.
I I
Gotta be.
can I can confirm that. Yeah.
Oh,
That's some of the most fun I've had anywhere on the planet. And I was a sailor. So that's saying a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
there might be drinks involved. I just got to keep reminding myself this is not actually tea. Taking a
Keep
big
going.
swig around.
So yeah, I can't say enough good things about that. And we usually fly in a little early and then leave a little late. But um, what would you say is your most impactful paranormal thing that has ever happened to you?
Oh, wow. Okay. When my husband and I just got engaged, I was 22 and we had just got engaged. We had moved back in with my parents. My father was really ill. And so my husband and I decided that we wanted to pay for our own wedding. We didn't want to put any financial burdens on my parents at the time. And so we was moving in with them to save up money, pay for the wedding. And about the one night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I couldn't move my legs. I felt sort of pressure on my ankles. And so I kind of woke up groggily, looked down, and I saw a figure standing at the end of the bed. And I realized that it was actually hands around my ankles. I freaked out completely, absolutely freaked out. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't get the words out. I was in complete meltdown mode. My husband, well, fiance at the time, woke up and he was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And what I had seen was my uncle standing at the end of my bed, and he was really excited. He was trying to tell me something, and he seemed in good mood. I was going to say good spirits, probably not the best choice of words. Um, but he was really, really excited to tell me something. The only problem was this particular uncle had passed away when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So I remember him from photographs, and he was stood there crystal clear. It lasted maybe a couple of minutes, the whole ordeal. I freaked out for a lot longer than that. And when I could eventually get the words out with Duncan asking me, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know how else to say this, but my dead uncle is standing at the end of the bed trying to tell me something. I'm freaking out. um, but what made this particular thing so incredible to me was the fact that about 6 o'clock in the morning, I'd walked out of my bedroom with my fiance in tow, checking to see if I was okay. And I walked into my mom. She'd just come out of her room, and she looked at me and went, "Wow, my girl, you're tired. Like you look really tired." And I looked at her and I went, "Yeah, I didn't sleep very well." And she so calmly, bear in mind, my psychic mediumship was passed down through generations in our family. So my mom just calmly looked at me and went, "Yeah, I didn't sleep very well either. Your uncle came and woke me up last night, and he was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. So I kind of went back to sleep." And I just went pale. And my mom looked at me and she was like, "Did he come visit you?" And I stood there going, "Did your dead uncle come in? What the hell's wrong with you?" Like, no, this is not normal. Um, And you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
have
You know, and,
to.
and I, in a lot of investigations, um, a lot of, the community, the paranormal community tries to use science, right? Try to use a scientific method. Well, if science is all about repeatability, that's
Mhm.
not the method to use in the paranormal, right? 'Cause it's
Yes.
very rare that you're going to get something that repeats itself that you can
Oh yeah.
do. That's why I always find it so much more interesting. That's why I pick people like you, the strange and interesting,
Weirdos.
and and try to figure out, I want to be near these people. I want to go hang out with these people. I want to experience what these people experience. And it's something outside of my envelope. So when you came to visit, when you were in the States, you came over and stayed with us in Georgetown, and we
Yes.
went over. I wanted to show you that old Tonkawa graveyard in San Gabriel Park.
Hmm.
Remember we walked
I
over there?
such a cool moment.
Yeah,
I will
I'm
never forget
you
that.
you tell that story. I don't want to, because I'm biased on it. So
So it was really bizarre. I mean, we had taken the dog for a walk. We were checking out the Tonkawa um, reservation area, the burial ground, and that. And walking along, I was more interested to see if I could find any like tomahawk things or, any little stones or anything interesting. And I had taken a digital recorder and my spirit box with me, and I just kind of shoved it in my little bag while we were walking. Um, and the moment we hit the burial ground, I had taken everything out and tried to record a spirit box session. It was so bizarre because I switched it on and it just died. Everything died. And so I was like, okay, that was fresh batteries. I just put them in all the equipment. So I kind of shoved it back in my little bag, carried on walking for a little bit, and it switched on in the bag, the spirit box. So I took it out, and the moment I took it out, it said Tonkawa, crystal clear, and then it died again, and I was a bit like, wow, that's really weird. So
right.
yeah, it was pretty cool being on that ground at that time and having that happen.
Well, and also, I've never had, a complete electronic failure on
Mhm.
stuff like that. Weird things have happened. It's like, okay, well, maybe I didn't, maybe I put the old batteries back in it, maybe something
Yeah,
or other. And my phone was just fine, and a couple of other people that were with us that night, phones were just fine. We go over
yeah,
there. It's never happened to me before. I've been over there hundreds of
yeah.
times, never had any trouble. And three or four of us, all of our phones go out.
Everything died. Absolutely everything died. And the weird thing was the moment we stepped off that burial ground, my first instinct was to check if everything was working again. And I took the spirit box and the recorder and everything out and all switched on, full batteries, no hassles. And I was just stood there like, what?
Right.
It was,
My phone powered straight up, and everybody else everywhere all looking at each other going, that's just ridiculous.
that was nuts. That
But
was just
that's
really,
that's why I do this stuff. That's why I
I
go to
think,
places with you and
yeah.
with other people, is to
Do
experience
you know
the
what
unexplained. Because a lot of times
my,
people look for the paranormal. What I look for is what's not there, what should be there, but it's
yeah.
not. It's just
One of
bizarre.
my favorite experiences while visiting you was staying in your spare bedroom, and you had the ceiling fan. And I remember saying to you in the morning, I was like, does your light randomly switch on for some reason? Because the whole night you could hear like the chain tug and the light switch on. And I kind of woke up and I realized the bedroom light was on. So I got up, switched it off, got back into bed, and then I think I switched that light off like 4 times. And I thought maybe like the way the fan was shaking, or I was just sat there trying to figure out why the bedroom light kept switching on. And when you were like, no, that's never happened, I was like, oh,
Never happened. And
sorry.
Lynn
Brain
kicks me out
skips.
of a master bedroom on a regular basis, so I end up having to
Mhm.
spend the night there. So I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with that thing. Never happened.
That was crazy to me. But the very next day, Duncan was like, did you bring something with you? So, yep, sorry. Brought
I
friends to
think you
visit.
did. Yeah. So this what's left, I guess I should say, what's left of this year. Um, hoping everything's gonna come about, and
Yeah.
thought I'd throw that up there. That's an event that you've been working on, right?
Yes. So Sage Paracon USA. I am super excited about this. Um, so many people, like you said earlier, are too scared to travel. They always say, I really want to go to England. I really want to go to Sage Paracon. And eventually I thought, well, do you know what? For all of the people that maybe can't make it over to England for some reason, I'm going to bring Sage Paracon to you. So we are hosting it at Belle Grove Plantation, which is in King George, Virginia. And Belle Grove Plantation is another one of my favorite locations in the world. It is a beautiful historic plantation, but it was also the birthplace of President James Madison. And it's got some really, really cool history tied to it as well. So I went over there last year. I had the most incredible time investigating this place. It is super active. The EVPs and things are amazing. And I thought, what an amazing place to host a very VIP small Paracon. And there's literally, we started with 40 tickets. That's it. 40 people. Um, I think half the tickets have sold already, but it's focusing more on workshops and lectures. So there's only Karen A. Delman, Richard S. Depp, yourself, Greg Lawson, myself, and Jay Marie, who is a psychic medium. And the five of us are going to be doing psychic demonstrations, workshops, lectures. Sorry, it's a very, very hands-on event, focusing more on the workshops and Q&A sessions and that sort of thing. The very cool thing about this is we are going to be setting up several experiments that will be running throughout the entire weekend. So from the time you're there for the meet and greet VIP party, having some drinks and snacks that's included in your ticket, on the Friday night, Saturday, we're going to do all the lectures and workshops. Saturday night, we're going to do a paranormal investigation of Belle Grove Plantation. And then Sunday, all day, we're going to have the rest of the lectures and workshops and kind of wind it down Sunday evening. Now, this is a 3-day event. It's one ticket price for the whole weekend. And throughout the weekend, we're going to have these experiments for everybody to take part in. And myself and Richard Estep are actually writing a book. I think the working title is The Sage Experiment. And it's a book about the entire weekend. So everybody that is a ticket holder is going to be a part of the book. And it's part of the experiments that we're doing and all the research that we're doing for the location, about the
Right.
location.
That's going to be a
So
lot of
that's
fun. You're also going to be
really cool.
um, going to Michigan, right?
I am terrified. I am bricking it.
What?
Yes, I am not scared at all of speaking at one of the biggest paranormal conventions in the world.
Yep.
I
It's
believe
it's
there's
it's
something.
A-lister time.
I can't. Do you know what? I am so grateful to Brad and Tim for having me as a speaker at my Paracon this year. I am really looking forward to it. Really working on my lecture as much as I can because it's terrifying. So Brad has kind of asked me to talk about England and investigating over here and how it's different, which is like really cool locations and experiments and things that we do over here.
Right.
Um, so I'm trying to put something really interesting together.
It'll be
I
cool.
think there's,
Whatever you end up bringing in will be cool. We're like pushing right at a minute and 10 seconds left.
gosh,
That went
gone so
by
quickly.
fast. Tell everybody
Absolutely.
where they can find you and contact you.
Well, you can find anything to do with Sage Paracon in the UK on www.sageparacon.co.uk. For any of the paranormal holidays that I do, or paranormal investigations, paranormal lectures, you can find all that information at sageparanormal.co.uk. Or you can find me on Facebook. You can just look for MJ Dickson. I have a public page where everyone can get hold of me, and I post a lot of the events that I'm doing, like my Paracon, Salem Con, and any other conventions and things that I'm appearing at. You can find them all on my website or on my Facebook pages. So you can look for
Thank
me
you
on
so
Instagram.
much, MJ, for joining me this evening and
Oh my
staying up
God.
so late.
Thank you
Um,
so much for being on. I really appreciate it. This has been good. Been a good catch up.
I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Perfect. Take care, guys.
Love you. Bye. All right. So that was MJ Dickson with Sage Paracon, and that was great. So we talked a lot about England and a lot about ghost experiences and stuff. On Thursday, I have Jessica Potter. She is a medium, psychic medium, and she's going to join us at 6 p.m. So I hope to see you then on the Detective Diaries. You guys have a good night. Thanks.